The void was vast and silent, stretched across 1,000 light-years of darkness, broken only by the distant gleam of dying stars. The alien fleets approached with confidence, a tide of precision-engineered vessels and automated dreadnoughts, certain that the planet they sought, Earth, was abandoned, a myth whispered across the galaxy. They called it a fairy tale, a legend of a species long thought extinct, incapable of mounting any defense. Yet myths have a way of hiding truth. A shimmer appeared along the void's edge, almost imperceptible. Sensors scrambled to interpret the anomaly, but no readings made sense. Then the first human warships decloaked. Hulls gleamed with energy. Angular and imposing, engines humming with quiet authority. They moved as one, a single organism, yet every vessel acted with the intent of its crew, each pulse of power synchronized like a heartbeat across the fleet. The alien admirals froze, their confidence faltering. They had prepared for weakness, for scattered survivors at best, not this display of coordinated strength. Beams of energy flared across space as they tested the humans' defenses, but the warships responded with instantaneous precision, shields bending attacks, redirecting energy in arcs that fractured and struck back, leaving enemy cruisers crippled before they realized their own errors. From the bridge of the flagship, Commander Hale observed with calm intensity. His crew moved with seamless coordination, each gesture, each calculation, flowing naturally as if guided by instinct sharpened over centuries of survival. This was no mere fleet, it was a demonstration of inevitability, a declaration that the galaxy had misjudged humanity. The first salvo struck. Not in chaos, not in fury, but with deliberate, surgical precision. Alien dreadnoughts shattered under the coordinated fire, their once imposing forms torn apart in energy bursts that illuminated the void. Even from afar, the refugees orbiting Earth watched in awe, their hope tempered by disbelief. Humanity was not merely defending, they were enforcing survival with intelligence, strategy, and unwavering will. The Galactic Throne's commanders realized too late that their arrogance had been a fatal flaw. Every formation, every calculation, every presumed advantage had already been anticipated and countered. The humans were not reacting, they were controlling, dictating the battle with a patience that bordered on omniscience. Then, from the shadows of orbital stations and hidden docks, additional human vessels began to emerge. Dreadnoughts, frigates, and bombers joined the formation, their presence a silent declaration. The stories of humanity's extinction had been lies, carefully crafted by those who underestimated a species that thrived in adversity. The first chapter of the battle was written in fire and light. The alien fleets had come expecting prey. Instead, they faced predators in control, precise, and unyielding. The myth of humanity had become a force the galaxy could not ignore, and Earth, long whispered as a legend, revealed the truth. Those who had been written off were the architects of their own defiance. The void held its breath as the humans advanced, every vessel a promise, every strike a reminder. Survival was not given. It was earned. The human fleet advanced with quiet authority, engines humming like a living heartbeat across the void. Smaller frigates and interceptors flanked the massive dreadnoughts, weaving through debris and energy arcs with precision that no alien commander could anticipate. Every movement was calculated, every strike preordained, yet fluid, like a predator guiding its prey through a labyrinth of inevitability. Alien cruisers attempted coordinated volleys, plasma streams arcing through the void toward the humans. Shields flared, absorbing energy, bending it back into the attackers with deadly elegance. Each volley that should have been catastrophic failed, leaving enemy formations fractured and disoriented. The Galactic Throne's confidence wavered, arrogance gave way to doubt as they realized the humans were not merely defending, they were orchestrating every moment of the battle. Commander Hale's eyes scanned the tactical displays. Crew members moved with silent precision, adjusting formations, redirecting power, and anticipating every enemy maneuver before it could manifest. Humanity had survived in the shadows for centuries, learned to endure when all odds were against them, and honed instinct into art, chaos into strategy. Interceptors launched in coordinated waves, threading through alien formations like needles through fabric, guiding bombers to points of vulnerability. Explosions blossomed with exacting precision, tearing through engines and weapon systems without wasting a single shot. Ships that had inspired fear now trembled under the control and intelligence of a species they had long thought extinct. From hidden orbital docks, additional human vessels began to stir. Partially built dreadnoughts emerged, bristling with energy and weaponry, joined by repair drones and construction ships. Even unfinished, the new arrivals radiated strength, reinforcing the fleet and reminding the galaxy that human ingenuity was inexhaustible. The alien admirals scrambled to reorganize. Flanking maneuvers, retreating squadrons, and emergency volleys were met with countermeasures that anticipated each step. Every assumption they had relied upon crumbled under human foresight. The humans had returned not as prey, but as masters of the battlefield, enforcing inevitability with patience and precision. Refugees on Arkships watched in awe. They had expected sanctuary. But what they received was far greater. Humanity did not simply defend, they commanded, controlled, and taught the galaxy a lesson in resilience, intelligence, and moral resolve. Every ship, every weapon, every action conveyed a singular truth: to underestimate humanity was to court certain defeat. The void itself seemed to bend under their presence, shaping every attack, guiding every maneuver. The humans advanced steadily, silently, with a certainty that left no room for doubt. The Galactic Throne had come expecting myths, they found reality, and it was unstoppable. The alien fleet trembled under the relentless precision of human strategy. Every attempted maneuver was anticipated, neutralized before it could unfold. Gravity distortions, decoy swarms, and energy pulses moved like extensions of the human mind, bending space itself to control the battlefield. Dreadnoughts that had once inspired terror faltered, engines faltering under attacks that were impossible to predict, every ship isolated and forced into a defensive posture it had never trained to sustain. From the flagship's bridge, Commander Hale's gaze swept across the tactical displays. Crew members moved as one, hands steady, eyes unblinking, minds aligned with the ship's will. The fleet had become more than steel and energy. It was a single organism of thought, each vessel a deliberate extension of human ingenuity. Patience and unyielding resolve, alien destroyers attempted flanking attacks, streaking through void corridors with reckless speed. Interceptors darted forward, weaving between beams of plasma with impossible agility, striking key systems in enemy ships with surgical precision. One by one, the aliens were corralled, isolated, and dismantled, their formations fractured beyond recognition. Massive bombardment ships emerged from hidden orbital positions, firing synchronized volleys that tore through hulls and shield arrays. Explosions blossomed with choreographed accuracy, sending fragments spiraling in arcs that illuminated the void like fireworks of defiance. Humans did not destroy indiscriminately, they executed inevitability. Refugee Arkships drifted safely behind the human lines, silent witnesses to a mastery they had never imagined. Humanity did not merely fight for survival, they enforced it. Every action, every calculated strike, every protective maneuver was a testament to centuries of endurance and the unbreakable will to prevail. Alien dreadnoughts reeled, their captains realizing the truth too late. They were no longer predators, they had become prey, outmaneuvered, outthought, and outclassed. The human fleet pressed forward, advancing methodically, each move reinforcing the last, each ship acting in perfect harmony with the rest. The void seemed alive with human intent. Energy arcs bent, engines thrummed. Shields shimmered, space itself had become a weapon, guided by intelligence and purpose. The Imperium's arrogance crumbled, replaced by a dawning horror. Humanity had returned, and they had not come merely to survive, they had come to dominate with precision, patience, and inevitability. Even amidst the chaos, calm prevailed on human ships. Every maneuver was deliberate, every strike calculated, every defense preordained. Humanity had endured extinction, conquered impossibility, and returned to the galaxy stronger, smarter, and unyielding. The refugees understood it finally. Humans were not just defenders, they were guardians, enforcers of survival, and the embodiment of a force the universe had never dared to truly test. The battlefield shifted from chaos to tense precision, the void scattered with drifting wreckage, shattered alien hulls, and the faint glow of human shields. The fleet held its formation like a living wall, every vessel a sentinel, every weapon primed. Humanity had not simply survived, they had dictated the flow of battle, bending the void and expectation to enforce the certainty of their presence. Commander Hale moved calmly across the bridge, observing systems, adjusting vectors, acknowledging the crew with silent nods. Victory was measured not in destruction alone, but in preparation, patience, and the assurance that no threat would rise again without consequence. Each human vessel radiated readiness. Engines humming, shields shimmering, a living testament to intelligence, discipline, and unyielding will. From the planet below, massive orbital construction ships began to deploy partially built dreadnoughts into formation. Swarms of drones assembled hulls mid-space, glowing energy cores powering up, weapons calibrating with meticulous care. Even incomplete, the new vessels projected strength, reinforcing the fleet, a declaration that human ingenuity was inexhaustible and their resolve eternal. Interceptors and bombers streaked through the battlefield, threading between drifting debris and residual energy pulses. Torpedoes and plasma strikes struck with surgical accuracy, disabling alien ships with controlled precision. Each move was deliberate, choreographed, a display of intelligence as lethal as it was beautiful. The aliens, even in retreat, could not escape the web of anticipation and calculated dominance. The refugee arc ships, floating safely within the human lines, watched in awe. Hope had arrived in the form of intellect, coordination, and moral resolve. Humanity did not merely protect, they ensured survival, transforming vulnerability into strength, fear into clarity. Children and elders alike stared through observation ports, realizing the scale of human defiance. Alien dreadnoughts attempting counterstrikes were intercepted before they could act. Every attack vector, every potential maneuver had been anticipated, and every breach met with decisive retaliation. The Imperium's centuries of conquest crumbled under the precision, foresight, and patience of a species that had survived extinction and returned stronger than any enemy could imagine. Even in the pauses between attacks, the human fleet maintained vigilance. Orbital drones repaired stations, recalibrated weapons, and reinforced shields, leaving no weakness exposed. Every action, every motion, was deliberate, a reminder that humanity's strength was not chaotic or fleeting, but absolute and enduring. The void itself seemed to bend around the humans, energy pulses, engine trails, and shield waves moving in concert as though space itself obeyed their command. The aliens had presumed weakness, humanity demonstrated mastery. They were architects of inevitability, enforcers of survival, and a force that reshaped the very rules of warfare. For the first time in generations, the refugees breathed without fear. Safety had been restored not by luck, not by chance, but by design. Humanity had returned, enforcing control over their destiny, and demonstrating to the galaxy that no threat, no matter how vast, could bend their will. And as stars shimmered above and orbital lights glinted across the fleet, one truth became undeniable. Humanity did not merely endure. Humanity commanded. Humanity protected. Humanity defined inevitability. The alien remnants retreated into distant warp lanes. Their formations fractured, their morale shattered. The human fleet held steady, engines humming, shields glowing, weapons ready. There was no celebration, only vigilance, a quiet assurance that survival was absolute and deliberate. Orbital drones repaired stations, reinforced defenses, and guided new ships into formation. Even the youngest recruits understood that humanity's presence was not temporary, it was an enduring force, a promise of protection and inevitability. Every movement of the fleet radiated control, intelligence, and unyielding will. The refugees whispered among themselves, awe mixed with relief. They had hoped for sanctuary, but what they received was far greater, the certainty that humans did not merely defend, they enforced survival with strategy. Precision, and moral resolve. The void shimmered with residual energy from the battle, reflecting the silent power of the fleet. Humanity had imposed order, ensured protection, and left a clear lesson for the galaxy. To challenge them was to face calculated inevitability. The void lay quiet but tense, scattered with drifting wreckage, flickering energy pulses, and the faint glow of human shields. Alien remnants had fled, warp engines straining to carry them beyond the reach of humanity's calculated power. Yet the fleet did not relax. Every vessel remained in formation, engines humming with quiet authority, weapons charged, shields shimmering. Victory was not celebration, it was control, assurance, and readiness. Humanity understood that the galaxy was vast, unpredictable, and full of threats yet unseen. Commander Hale moved across the flagship, eyes scanning tactical displays and monitoring the fleet's pulse. Crew members worked with seamless precision, adjusting vectors, reallocating power, and coordinating attacks even in this lull. Every ship, every system, every decision was a reflection of centuries of survival honed into perfection. Humanity did not merely fight, they orchestrated, enforced, and endured. Below, orbital construction ships continued to deploy dreadnoughts and support vessels. Drones swarmed around hulls, repairing, assembling, calibrating. Even incomplete, these ships projected strength and authority, signaling that human ingenuity was inexhaustible. The fleet was more than a fighting force, it was a statement, a demonstration of a species that had been underestimated for too long. Interceptors patrolled the edges of the battlefield, scanning for any surviving threats, while bombers conducted precision drills against derelict enemy formations. Every action was measured, every strike exacting, a reminder that humanity's power was as deliberate as it was overwhelming. Refugees aboard ARC ships observed silently, awe and relief mingling in their faces. They had hoped for protection, they had been given mastery, the alien fleets that survived fled into the void. But their retreat carried a weight they could not escape, knowledge of human intelligence, coordination, and resilience. The Imperium had believed in superiority, in inevitability. Humanity had returned, not to be prey, but to enforce a new order across the stars, a standard no predator could challenge without consequence. Even in the calm, the human fleet radiated readiness. Orbital drones repaired and reinforced stations, recalibrated weapons, and monitored the void for anomalies. The humans had endured extinction, survived in hiding, and returned stronger, wiser, and unyielding. Every ship, every crew member, every engine hum spoke of preparedness, foresight, and moral resolve. The stars reflected across the hulls of the fleet, light shimmering over energy conduits and reinforced armor. Humanity had transformed myth into reality, turning whispers of extinction into a demonstration of power, precision, and moral fortitude. Every system, every star, every observer now understood that Earth's defenders were no longer legends, they were enforcers of survival, guardians of hope, and arbiters of consequence. Commander Hale looked toward the distant void, knowing that new threats would emerge, that the galaxy was far from tamed. Yet there was no fear. Humanity had endured worse, survived longer, and returned stronger than any who had doubted them could imagine. Engines pulsed, shields shimmered, and the fleet stood eternal, vigilant, and unbroken, and in the quiet expanse of space, Hale's voice carried across the flagship, calm, resolute, and unwavering, we endure. We protect. We rise.